Alien Campaign. With a shot taken from Alien 3, I think. That was one durable alien we saw in that cutscene. I suppose I haven't actually mentioned that yet. The little mission thumbnails you see are screen caps taken from certain scenes of the movie. Most of the Marine campaign is taken from Aliens. Just a couple of shots they take. I don't remember off the top of my head what the Predator ones are, but the Alien is a collection from Alien 3 and Aliens. Hey, I recognize that from the Marine bonus missions. Hey. Except the objective this time is a heck of a lot different. Getting around to that is the main thing the alien does. The main gimmick is that you can wall crawl, and this is why in the bonus missions they have to give the Marine the jetpack. But for those of you who, how to describe it? Not motion sickness. Is it simulation sickness? I'm almost positive the Alien campaign will just make people with simulation sickness or motion sickness just vomit all over the place. With all of the camera flipping around. From what I recall, I've done my best to try and keep things still, but because I did think about that while recording, I went, oh god, it's going to drive people insane. Maybe it still will. Maybe the voices. Yeah, then don't watch, idiot. Because that's a smart idea. Call your audience stupid. Yeah, well. Who's the fool? The fool that makes a fool, or the fool that follows a fool? Food for thought. But the other thing, every single one of the... You know, guys, your game is dark, and you had to give all three of your races a darkness vision. Maybe, just maybe, we should rethink our choices with lighting. But the primary MO for the the alien, they just call it the alien. This is something I've never bothered to pay close enough attention to. I do not think... Do they refer to them in-game as xenomorphs? I think they do. I think they say bugs. They might. Food for thought. I certainly won't pay attention. I'm not inclined enough to care. I think I mentioned it offhand during the Marine campaign, but the origin of calling the monster from Alien, the movie called Alien. You have to specify that. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. You're watching an AVP LP, but the origin of that term. I suppose the origin even of... God, where to start? Aliens vs. Predator is a comic book based off of all things, not that you would know that, a combination of aliens and Predator. But the more specific origin of AVP is not 20th Century Fox making the movie. It's actually... hang on a minute. I have notes on this. I do, right here. Oh, by the way, if you want to know what's going on in the level, pretty much every single level the alien goes through, you just break everything and that's it. You break stuff. You'll progress. But AVP was created by one Randy Stradley and Chris Warner, an author, a writer, and an artist, a key artist, respectively, for Dark Horse Comics. They, Dark Horse that is, acquired the licenses to make Predator and Aliens comic books and graphic novels. I always called graphic novels the collections of comic books, and comic books were just the single print issues. Oh, those Molotov cocktails, but evidently, the minute humans hear that there's a xenomorph outbreak, everybody just starts packing on Molotov cocktails. For no reason. It's the single deadliest thing to a xenomorph in terms of gameplay, and boy, you're gonna have some fun seeing me go into blindness vision when lit on fire. Back to what I was talking about. Dark Horse has got the rights to Aliens and Predator comic books. And, I'm gonna try to remember this off the top of my head. 1988, I think, is when they got the rights. And then a little bit later, maybe even the year following, they got the rights to the other one. They got the rights to Aliens and then Predator. Or vice versa. One and then the other. And then, those two gentlemen I mentioned earlier got together at some point and made up a concept for the two races fighting each other. And those comic books are what is responsible for basically codifying the terminology, what we call certain things, such as the death disc. That'll be relevant to the Predator campaign. The first introduced in Predator 2, the weird flying blade that the Predator throws. They called that the death disc. They called the wrist gauntlets, and the plasma caster, the plasma caster. Because, of course, in the movie, none of these things ever get named. Why would you call it anything other than, okay, he has this thing, we have a cool idea for a bladed frisbee, essentially. Give the Predator that's kind of cool. Which I guess someone got the idea because they... I'm not going to say they were watching any specific... Xena immediately came to my head, but just... They probably heard of chakrams, even without having to see other media. But they liked that idea of throwing something like a boomerang or a chakram. And they said, hey, we'll give the Predator that. That'll be a neat gadget to give the Predator. I love how I'm talking more about the Predator than I am the Xenomorph. But the comic books codify that we call them Xenomorphs. They do X thing. That's... Coming from Alien 3, there's your blindness vision. God. Fire... Whenever you're playing as the alien, fire is just the single most lethal... Well, I would actually... Getting shot is the most lethal thing to use. Shotguns in particular. Oddly enough, not available to the Marine, but NPCs do carry shotguns. But fire is the most obnoxious ailment to the Predator and Alien. Xenomorph. Gets into something else. I don't know if I can call it a pet peeve, because it doesn't annoy me, but it's just kind of a... a thing I noticed that makes me roll my eyes is when... Oh, they're called xenomorphs. Why? Why are they called that? Well, in Aliens, the lieutenant... Copper, I think. I don't remember the lieutenant. He's completely unmemorable. The lieutenant, during the briefing, he says, there's a xenomorph, or possibility of a xenomorph infestation, and everyone collectively just decided, even though, if you break down what that word means, it just means an alien thing, basically. It's just a fancier way to say alien. So people stuck with that. They said, oh, that's what they're called. Funny enough, the Predators actually got from the comic book, their race got a name. A name that I have no idea how to pronounce other than Yachwa. That was the name they came up with. And I don't envy anyone who has to come up with something that... Because at least with Xenomorph, right? I've said I roll my eyes at that, but okay, at least it's something. It's something from the movie, from the source material that someone said. So, alright, everyone jumps on that, and whereas, okay, what do we call the Predators? The Predators? But that's just kind of a regular, common name for something. This is a topic for a completely different time, but it happens in video games all the time. What do we call this thing? It's a stalker. It's a hunter. I would like to see someone I would like to see someone make a list of all of the different hunters in video games. The ones I can think of off the top of my head are the Halo hunters, and then I think of the Half-Life 2 Episode 2 hunters, the hunters in Left 4 Dead. They're hunters. What common predatory animal name can we assign to this enemy type? Oh, I know, a predator. It is what it is. But you can't call them the predator, so come up with something, and then someone just thinks in their head for a while and comes up with let's do something weird. It wouldn't surprise me at all. You could tell it caught me off guard at the end of that level. I kind of looked up and went, okay, there's that, and I'm about to look away to keep moving, and then the level just stops. Yet another mission already seen if you watch the Marine bonus content for Arco, except it will be in forward progress now. That's what AVP is. And then oh god, when were those movies? Well, the movies came well after this game, and even this game is not the first iteration of the AVP concept. I'm not entirely certain if the beat-em-up arcade game came first or the Atari Jaguar game, and boy, if none of you know what the Atari Jaguar is, that's search around. There's a great classic AVGN episode all about it. The toilet game console. But that was one of the first AVP games. If I've gotten it wrong, then it's the first. And then in 1999, this got put out, and the rest is, as they say, history. I haven't bothered to even talk about kind of the mechanics at play. So one of the chief things with a Marine is the manner in which you heal is just regular first-person shooter power-ups, essentially, just pickups that you absorb via osmosis through your feet. The Alien, they actually got a bit more creative. And they linked healing to actually devouring your the humans and predators that you come across in the levels. The most potent source of healing being what they have dubbed a head bite, in which the alien uses its pharyngeal jaws to pierce the head, because it's a thing the movie Monster did quite frequently and did great effect, and it's an image that sticks with people, so they replicate that in game. By the way, if you want to know that term that I just flagrantly used, it is I said a pharyngeal jaw, which is, if you've ever wondered if the idea of a mouth or a jaw inside of another jaw is it, if you've ever wondered, is that a thing that actually happens in nature? Yes, it does. I know specifically moray eels in the ocean have what science has dubbed pharyngeal jaws. That is, instead of I forget the purpose of the pharynx in the human body. The flames. Fun. But basically, in the place where our pharynx, or the eel's pharynx would be, there is a second pair of jaws. And what they're used for in real life is, an eel basically doesn't have any way to swallow prey. So when an eel bites down on something, it needs a way to pull its prey into its body, into its stomach, to actually eat it. And that's what the pharyngeal jaw does. It'll come up forward into their mouth, grab whatever they're holding, and pull it inside of their body. And that's a real-life example of what the xenomorph has access to. So, the Marine bonus, the reason why, to, again, finally codify the what-if scenario, imagine if that lady down at the bottom that was just, unfortunately, eviscerated by our player character, Xenomorph here. Imagine if that lady was not a lady, but a colonial marine. And they had access to player character powers. And that was the bonus mission. Can you imagine? There is, if I may claim it so, there's a shocking level of jibbing going on with the NPC models in this game. And I was imagining for a minute if they actually displayed that level of dismemberment in the movies, or even seeing that in real life. Can you imagine? Just you pass by a window and there's a xenomorph slapping its arms all over this body, and parts are flying off of it. It would just be this completely absurd and ridiculous sight. Why did I have to re-record? Oh, I'll tell you why. So obviously, I jumped from level 3, doing it for the first time, and now at level 4. Whoa! All the bonus levels are already unlocked. Okami, are you cheating? No, it's... There was a lot of footage of this level in particular, and what's the theme, kids? The theme is player direction, or a lack of it. And this was one of those levels, like the bonus mission for the Marine for Arco. It was just, what do I do? And a big part of not knowing what the heck to do is relegated to a very specific fan. And like that bonus mission for the Marine, it was I'm blind, or I just, it never occurred to me. Because going back through it, after learning it for the first time, it seems obvious. But that's it. That's the nature of improvement, or acquiring new knowledge. It'll seem obvious to you once you've realized it. But in the moment, you feel like you feel completely lost. And anyone who ever feels that way, don't worry. We all go through that. It's unfortunate these Marines just do not have the reaction time of, or the reboot hover discs that the player has access to during their Marine campaign. If I haven't established it all yet, no, I have. The standard MO for the Xenomorph is just break everything. Flail your flipper arms all over the place and just break everything you see. Now, I'm not doing it enough, but you can also gain a very small amount of health from just, again, I describe it as this frantic slapping motion whenever you use your claw attack. It's the equivalent of what I imagine whenever someone describes a slap fight among little kids on the playground. But you can do that and gain a little bit of health that way. Further distinguishing, I've used distinguishing enough time. Differentiating, that's the word I'm looking for. The different races. Speaking of which, the order I've been playing this in maybe confused because I don't start from the top, which is the alien. I start with the Marine. Basically, the way I always replay this game. This is the part that, again, it seems obvious now, but you break those two power switches and it stops this fan, and this is where you're supposed to go. All the footage that I cut out was just me wandering back and forth constantly, and I thought to myself, well, I can either keep all of that in, or I can cut ahead. And then there were a number of deaths, and there was so much cutting, I eventually just said, you know, I can do better. I can do a better run of these levels, specifically, and not die as often. The footage I had, I'd imagine, yeah, because I'm having to go off of memory, but there were probably even more times I got lit on fire, and I just went, this isn't very good to watch. Not that this is any better, but if I don't have they call it hunt mode, but if I don't have the hunt mode vision turned on, it's even more difficult to see. But here's the part where the Marine would start in the bonus mission. Alright, now picture this moment. Just picture what that would look like if you were one of those people observing this. This standing xenomorph is running through, breaking the windows, just slapping everything in its vicinity, and all this crap flying apart. You'd swear the Tasmanian devil just tornadoed his way through. And like a lot of missions, I beg the question, have you figured out what I'm supposed to be doing? Or what the ultimate goal is? Because the goal, I'll tell you, is nothing more than you, as the xenomorph, have sensed a hive, and you're trying to get to it. And there it is. How? Of course. Of course. That's exactly what that was. And there, like I said, now we're back to the actual footage of me first time doing it. I say like I said, I've played this game many times, but on a new save file the first time. Almost got it. Thank goodness for that convenient trash can blocking the lift. Otherwise, the alien would have no way of getting past it. Something I thought about whenever going through the thing I was thinking of is whenever I was playing AVP 2 actually, which yes, I'll be doing that if anyone cares, but I was going through AVP 2, and I was going through the Alien campaign of that. Which is actually has a very interesting spin. They bother to showcase the life cycle of the xenomorph, whereas here you just kind of start as a drone, or I suppose a warrior, because they. That's another topic for another time. The caste system of the xenomorphs, but kind of a game designer block, I suppose I would call it, that one would run into when designing a game based on the Alien, where not playing as the Marine. That's pretty. That whenever you're coming up with what's the goal or what's the main narrative, right? That's not necessarily hard to come up with. And I poke fun at it when we were going through the Marine campaign, but at least it's grounded and solid. Escape from xenomorphs. That's it. With the xenomorph, you beg the question, if you're playing as it, what do we do? What is the... They don't really have a goal or an enemy to fight. Like, I mean, even the Predator. You can give the Predator a goal, and they do in this game. But what does the xenomorph do? The goals are just nebulous, and it's just an animal, or a monster. But the idea is it will behave like an animal. So, alright, well, what do we come up with? It's trying to rejoin the hive, or protect the hive. Okay. And then we just, loop mission objectives around protecting the hive. And then, okay, it gets on a ship, and this is me desperately trying to see if there's a way to just make the flame vision go away. It's so aggravating. If you've never played this game yourself, it's not fun. It's not fun to get lit on fire. Good. A good motto to live by in real life, as well as in video games. It's a good idea to not get lit on fire. But the alien, they just kind of give this nebulous objective to. It rejoins the hive, and then and here in the final mission, its objective is get on board a ship and send alien eggs to Earth. Which you find out, it's actually the company, the corporation, and their infinite wisdom is the one sending alien and xenomorph eggs to Earth. Because. And you, as the warrior, are being sent to guard them on their way. Again, how all of these objectives are linked together with the environments we're going through? Good question. Who cares? We gotta make this level and we gotta make it interesting. And this is something I should say. I know I've been... it's seemingly been ragging on this idea of, oh, the levels don't make any sense in terms of the narrative they're telling. But say, contrast that. In terms of gameplay, these levels are pretty good. They're laid out, and I know I've been saying stuff about player direction. Finding out what you're supposed to do is confusing and not intuitive, but the ways for example, the sentry gun placement, the enemy placement, all of that stuff is excellent. I would make the argument. Once again, it just suffers from a lack of a natural progression path. There's not that much in the way of, which again you would accomplish via things like lighting or more concrete. For example, whenever you hit the switches, you make the fan more visible. You put the fan directly in the player's sight as they enter the room. Stuff like that. But the levels are laid up pretty well. There's your predator, instantly killed with a single tail stab. Let's just move past that. Funny enough, if you don't kill the predator, you see how he's down like that? If you actually don't kill him in time, he will self-destruct like in the movies. It's a neat thing. And there it is. That's the end. The Marine gets a puzzle boss, and the Xenomorph gets 2 predators that are absurdly easy to fight. Off to Earth to progress the events of the arcade beat 'em up. See you guys in the bonus level.